Hey guys, palette roundup for the week, and in spot number 7 we have the Natasha Denona Mini Retro, and this is ranking lowest because of the color story, and I just don't like small palettes. They get lost in my collection, but I really only like these 3 shades. Like, these just don't do anything for me, and I just feel like I can't create a cohesive color story. Like, this feels like a companion palette, and so as much as I love it. Alright, so for number 6, we have the Violet Voss Essentials 2 palette, and you guys are going to get a little sneak peek into my Project Pan update. And so this is just, it's a neutral heavy palette. I am not a neutral lover, but this palette has made me fall in love with neutrals, so I do love this palette. Like I said, every palette on this list this week is a love, but it had to rank lower than the other palettes that I have coming up. Alright, and then in spot number 5, we have the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette, and I used this half of the palette to create a grungy color story. And for me, this shade Talk Derby to me is garbage, and it's partially because my palette doesn't close correctly, so it's, you know, not all the palette's fault. But this palette is old, and it's powdery, and it's past its prime. And then in spot number 4, we have the Profusion Meadow palette, and I used this burgundy row. And for me, I just wish this palette had more shimmers in it. Like, I get it's a small palette, but the single shadows I pulled way outperformed this shimmer shade, which it's still a really good shimmer shade. Like, don't get me wrong. Gotta love when the camera malfunctions, but this was still a gorgeous color story. Alright, the palette in the number 3 spot is the Beauty Crop Dawn Gazing palette. It does have a pressed glitter, which I did use in this week's look. And I love this palette. The quality is absolutely stunning. The reason this is ranking so low for me is just that it's a monochromatic palette, and I can only really get these berry-toned looks with it, which I do love it. The formula is beautiful, and if I want a berry-toned look, that's the formula I'm going to reach for. In spot number 2, we have my Level Up palette, is the Ace Beaute Tropical Vibes palette, which is what I'm wearing today. Today I'm wearing this shade and this shade on my eyes. But this palette is absolutely gorgeous. It's a highly pigmented formula. In my opinion, not beginner friendly, and it's almost too pigmented, which is why it had to be ranked number 2. But I love it. And then for spot number 1, again, let's appreciate the artwork one more time. This is the Cara Beauty Flower Powers palette, and for this week I used these top 2 rows here. My only complaint about this palette is these 3 matte shades are not yellows like they look in the pan. They are oranges. But I still created a beautiful look, and this pressed glitter looks like a pot of gold on the eyes. This is my number 1 palette. Absolutely stunning. Can't wait.